Hey, what's up, guys and gals? My name is Rick9G. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be talking about I Love Lucy. In fact, this is a double back-to-back episode that I made on this channel on I Love Lucy. If you're a fan of the show, liking, commenting, and subscribing is a free and the truly best way to support the channel. So let's get right to it. I know so many people have been asking me almost for years, Rick, can you please translate what Ricky says, the Little Red Riding Hood story? Caperucita Roja. You all want to know what he says, how he says it, any errors that he might say, anything ridiculous he might say. And I'm going to translate it word for word. In fact, I have the script in front of me. You're going to visually see the script, and I'll just do the Spanish as we're reading through the script, that section of the Spanish. However long it takes, I want to be able to get right to it. But in case you don't know what episode I'm talking about, it's from season 3, episode 14, Ricky Minds the Baby. It came out January 1954. In this story, while at the Tropicana, something's going on. They in fact close it because they're repainting it. So Ricky offers to give Lucy a full week break, basically taking care of little Ricky, and little Ricky becomes his responsibility. And so a lot of things happen, especially at the end where they almost lose little Ricky. It's kind of funny. Not that they almost lose him, but in the frame of the story, it's a funny premise. But Ricky, the whole time, he's safe and nothing happens to him. That is little Ricky. But what actually happens during the reciting of Little Red Riding Hood, Caperucita Roja? I'm going to go through it. It's really fun and exciting to see exactly what he says, and he does make a couple mistakes. I do want to note that. I first want to note that due to little Ricky, the actors, they're played by twins in this case, the little two boys, they're heavily featured in this episode. So they decided not to film this episode in front of a live audience in case the baby got fussy and cranky and cried during these scenes. So they recorded the episode and they played it later for the audience, and then they captured the laughter and then added into the final product. That's how they made this episode. And he does make a slight error. I'll note it here. I'm going to go through it, but I just want to point out the error so when I get to it, you'll notice that it is coming. Desi gets really caught up in the story and the fact how the heroine was saved, and in gratitude, he quotes the heroine saying, "Gracias, Señor Lobo," which translates, "Thank you, Mr. Wolf." But that doesn't make any sense because the wolf was killed, right, by the hunter. So you should have said, "Gracias, Señor Hunter," or Mr. Hunter. But Desi's always on it. He caught his mistake and he did say exactly this. He says, "Gracias, Señor El Hunter. Gracias por matar el lobo." Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Thank you for killing the wolf. So let's get right to it. We're going to start with the Caperucita Roja, Little Red Riding Hood part and go straight through it. So let's get right to it. I actually have the exact script from the show. These are the words in English and Spanish that were said. Let's get right to it. Of course, the English, I just want to set the scene. Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood? Yeah, Little Red... Oh, yeah. You sure you know it? Of course I know it. My mother used to tell it to me when I was a child. Oh, we have bedtime stories in Cuba too, you know. Of course, Ricky says that. You just rest your mind at ease. Yes, sir. Come on, boy. Come on. I'll tell you your favorite bedtime story. Here's the Spanish starting. Caperucita Roja. Basically, Little Red Riding Hood. Oh, isn't it wonderful seeing them together? Gee, I know. And then he says, Caperucita, what's that? I don't know. Maybe it's Little Red Riding Hood in Spanish, which is correct. Oh, I got to see this. Can we come along? Sure, come on. Hurry up. Oh, he's pushing the door for Papa and everything. Boy, you're big and strong. So this is Ricky saying this to little Ricky. I may go back and forth between saying Desi and Big Ricky or just Ricky. So just note that. I'm going to use them interchangeably. Now you be a good boy. The baby's fussing. I'm going to bring your favorite toy. He gives him his toy, right? And then tell him his favorite bedtime story. Here we go. Caperucita Roja. Now, once upon a time, he starts in English. Había una muchachita muy bonita que le decían Caperucita Roja. There was a young girl, a young, very beautiful girl that they used to call Little Red Riding Hood. And it says, porque siempre tenía un red bonnet, because she always had a red bonnet. So I like how he does Spanglish here, especially with porque siempre tenía un red bonnet. He does that a lot, so it gives the audience a clue what he's talking about. But when you know the full translation, it works, but I think it's kind of funnier with people not knowing what it was. Now, una mañana su mamá le dio un basket. Now, a specific morning, her mom gave her a basket. Y en el basket puso frijoles, tortillas. And in the basket, she put beans, tortillas. Y también le puso ahí vino. And also put in there wine, which is kind of funny because it's saying that the grandma is being given wine by the mother, which I think is kind of comical. Y le dijo, Caperucita Roja, lleva este basket. And she told her, Little Red Riding Hood, take this basket a tu grandmama, to your grandmama, que está en la casa, y tú, who is in her house, and you, and tu grandmama está feeling lousy, and your great-grandma is feeling lousy. Caperucita Roja cogió el basket y dice, Little Red Riding Hood grabbed the basket and said, all right, mama, adios, mama, and she went. That's pretty obvious right there. All right, mama, goodbye, mama, and so forth. Humming. Y entonces miró, y ahí estaba el lobo. So that means, and then she looked, and there was the wolf. So he does the growling, right? Y el lobo dijo, buenos días, Caperucita Roja. And the wolf said, good day, Little Red Riding Hood. And Little Red Riding Hood, and Caperucita dijo, buenos días, Señor Lobo. And she said, good morning, Mr. Wolf, or Señor Wolf. Y el lobo dijo, ¿qué tienes ahí en el basket? And the wolf said, what do you have there in the basket? Y Caperucita dijo, aquí en el basket tengo frijoles, tortillas y vino. And Little Red Riding Hood said, here in the basket I have beans, tortillas, and wine. Que lo voy a llevar a grandmama, that I'm going to take to grandmama. Que está feeling lousy, who's feeling lousy. See, this tells you a feeling lousy. It gives you an idea, and everyone knows grandmama. So it's very well written, and it truly makes sense. Y el lobo dijo, and the wolf said, ¿por qué no vas por el jardín and pick some flowers? He says, hey, why don't you go by the garden and pick some flowers? Y Caperucita dijo, all right, muy bien. All right, very good. Y se fueron por el jardín to pick the flowers. And she went by the garden to pick the flowers, humming, humming, humming. Y entonces el lobo dijo, grandmama en la casa. And then the wolf said, grandmama at home. Boom, 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 boom. And grandmama dice, aló, ¿quién está ahí? And grandmama says, hello, who's there? Who's out there? Y el lobo dijo, Caperucita Roja. And the wolf said, Little Red Riding Hood. So the wolf is faking it, of course. Everything is pretty much on par so far. Y grandmama dice, venga, entra, entra. And grandmama says, come, enter, enter. Y el lobo abrió la puerta y entró. So he says, and the wolf entered the door and entered. So this is, he opened the door and entered. So that's a correction there. Y estaba la grandmama en la cama, and grandmama was in her bed, growling, eating noises, growling, eating noise, not bad, not bad. Y entonces se metió en la cama y cogió el blanket y se cubrió. So it says, and then the wolf, it's implied that it's the wolf, went into the bed and got the blanket and covered himself, the wolf. Y Caperucita estaba por allá en el bosque, and Little Red Riding Hood was somewhere in the woods, right? Picando the flowers. Picando, picking the flowers. This is kind of a made-up word. It's like Spanglish. I would never say to my grandma picando, right? It's just like a Spanglish word. Humming a happy tune. Y llegó a la casa de grandmama y abrió la puerta. And got to grandmama's house, to the house, and opened the door. Buenos días, grandmama. Good day, grandmama. Y el lobo dijo, buenos días, Caperucita. Y the wolf said, good day, Little Red Riding Hood. Y Caperucita dijo, grandmama, what big orejas tú tienes. So, I don't know, but my guess is that a lot of people know what orejas mean. It means ears. So, Little Red Riding Hood said, grandmama, what big ears you have. The thing is that we're led to understood that we can understand the story even though we don't know the words, because we know the basic idea of Little Red Riding Hood, right? Y el lobo dijo, sí, para oírte mejor, my dear. And the wolf said, yeah, to hear you better, my dear. And Little Red Riding Hood said, grandmama, what big ojos tú tienes. Same thing. Little Red Riding Hood said, grandmama, what big eyes you have. And it keeps going back and forth, right? And the wolf said, sí, para verte mejor, my dear. And the wolf says, yeah, to see you better. And Little Red Riding Hood said, grandmama. I could also translate it like that. what a big mouth you have. And the wolf said, to eat you with. Growl, screams, growl, screams. Y entonces vino el hunter. And then the hunter came. And the hunter hizo boom, boom, boom. So that's literally what he's saying. Y el hunter hizo boom, boom, boom. So there's no talk of a gun or anything. It's like a quick telling of the story. So we're implied that, here's a gun and you went boom, boom, boom. Y el lobo se cayó, muerto. And the wolf lay down dead, basically. And he says, dead. And Caperucita, gracias, señor lobo. And this is where he makes the error. He says, and Little Red Riding Hood says, thank you, Mr. Wolf. That doesn't make sense. This literally means Mr. Wolf. So, of course, the wolf is dead. So the correct words that he should have said gracias, señor hunter. Or say that's how he said it up here, right? And so we continue. He says, gracias, señor el hunter. He realizes his mistake during filming. He's supposed to say, Caperucita, gracias, señor hunter. So he repeats it again, gracias, señor, like twice. And then he's like, oh, shoot, I made a mistake. Señor el hunter, right? And continues, thank you for killing the wolf. And Mr. Hunter said, no hay de qué. Basically, you are very welcome, Little Red Riding Hood. Y entonces se sentaron para comer el dinner. And so the hunter and Little Red Riding Hood sat and ate the dinner. Y se comieron las tortillas, las frijoles y el vino. I just think that's funny because it's like Cuban, right? It gives it the Cuban style. And they ate the tortillas, the beans, and the wine. Y todo el mundo vivió happily ever after. And the whole world lived happily ever after. Even though apparently Grandmama's on the ground, they're dead. Which is kind of funny. Now, good night, old man. Good night. Wasn't that cute? And then Fred says, El Lobo, shh, which means, the wolf, shh, and so forth. And he does this cute little thing. And then Fred goes, La-ni-da-ni-da. And that's it. It stops right there. It continues on in English. And that was it. There's nothing really surprising there. Nothing out of the ordinary. I would just note the tortillas, frijoles, and vino, right? The tortillas, the beans, and the wine, and the error that Desi made. But other than that, pretty standard, little tweaks there. And then his acting, his physical comedy is what really sold it and what made it interesting. So let me know what you think about this. I hope you really enjoyed this video. Probably a little longer than usual, but I want to do it justice and go pretty much word for word and tell you exactly what happened there. It's not like he dropped in a random word or was making things up and just saying nonsense. He actually went through the story of Little Red Riding Hood with a couple English words here and there, I think to clue the audience into what he was saying. Let me know, do you think it was entertaining? If you knew not one word of Spanish, were you entertained or was it frustrating for you? I'd love to know your thoughts down below. I appreciate it. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up and always stay positive and most importantly, be hopeful. A big thanks to all of my Patreon members, especially my Diamond and Platinum tier patrons. David D, Citizen Kane 359, Jerry D, Vito L, Sally N, Russ C, Kev, and Daniel B. If you want to be on this list or appear in the credits, make sure to look at the link in the description. Thanks.